Niggas elite, this a last sermon. Preacher gon' preach, soaking the woke.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Delise Whitfield. I am the Regional Vice President and Broker of the Whitfield Wealth Group. Born and raised in Rochester. I do specialize in, I guess, anything to do with money. So life insurance, investments, credit, financial planning, pretty much do it all.
Okay. So if somebody today, right now, were to decided to start a business or decided to move in the right direction, what do you think would be the first thing that a person should do?
I guess the first thing, if a person's looking to start a business, is kind of have their business plan figured out.
Okay.
What they want to do, get it out on paper, and then get an idea of what that's going to cost.
Okay. And what about the importance of credit? Leveraging debt?
I mean, honestly, credit make the world go round. At this point, it's really nothing you can do without credit. If you want to start a business, it does require you have some type of personal credit. Everyone thinks that they're going to start an LLC and have a 850 credit score that they can utilize, but it doesn't work that way. So making sure that their credit is at least, I would say, shoot for a 680 or higher. And then, I mean, once you build it to over 750, it's pretty much nothing you can't qualify for.
How easy or difficult is it to build that credit? Because a lot of people say, like, you want your, they give us a range as like where our credit needs to be, but I don't think like it's so clear for people like to build on their credit, like they're like even like disputing certain things, or like I forget the terms, but like, and working out certain things with the actual debtors and whatnot, like financial agreements and whatnot.
So it really depends, because a person could have bad credit because they don't have any.
Right.
So then it's the idea of building something, and that may not be having to dispute anything. They may need to get some credit builder apps, get some credit cards, or maybe do a personal loan to kind of get their score going, because credit is based off of your likelihood to pay somebody back.
Correct.
So not having anything makes it harder for a company to be able to trust you with money, basically. If they have bad credit, it could be a matter of disputing things off or settling things. A lot of times people want to just go I want to wipe my credit clean, but that may not be the best thing for them, especially depending on how they're trying to use their credit. Because you could, sometimes send a couple letters and get things off, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to come back.
Right.
And there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a mortgage process and you get a debt that's added back that was $200 you could have just paid.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need credit to invest in stock?
No. So, in order to be in the stock market, the only thing you really need is a routing and account number, and generally they want you to be a U.S. citizen, but it does not tie to your credit at all.
So you don't need a broker anymore to buy like certain stocks and whatnot?
So everything comes through a broker somehow, but there is apps. So there's like Robinhood, there's Acorn, there's apps you can use. Cash App has it now, but it is going through. You paying the fees to somebody.
Right. Yeah, everybody paid.
Somebody getting the fees. I think the biggest thing with having an advisor is you got somebody who's going to actually give you guidance and that you can reach out to personally if you need help with something. Like looking right now with the tariffs. Imagine you have no advisor and all of your money is in something that was extremely affected by the tariffs and it goes down by 50%. Who are you going to call? Or every time you call in a Fidelity, or you call in a TIAA, or you call into any of these companies, you're getting a different person every time.
Right.
So sometimes it's better to have that relationship because they actually know what your goals are. They actually care about, okay, yeah, I know you got a kid going to college in a couple of years. Let's make some adjustments. I know you plan to retire.
And that's why they call you, right?
Yeah, that's what I call
I was sure about that.
That's what they call you. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's two things that I kind of got a question or a statement about, right? So one is leveraging stocks or borrowing against stocks. Like, I mean, do you have to have a substantial amount, because most of these billionaires aren't really billionaires. Like, this is through
in
like
cash.
Yeah, you're right. It's not liquid. It's through stocks, and they leverage a lot of their purchases through stocks and make a lot of their purchases through their businesses and whatnot. So it's like, is it a specific amount or a percentage that you have to leverage those things?
Not necessarily. So like in the example of billionaires, what they basically do is they go to a bank and they say, hey, my stock is worth X amount of dollars, give me a loan for 50 grand, give me a loan for $1 million based on their stock portfolio. If the stock goes up, great. If it goes down, they only took out a loan for less than what the original value was.
Right.
Now for, I guess you would say, average people, they're not really buying 100 or 200 or 1,000 shares of one company. Like billionaires, they usually have, like Elon Musk, for example. He has a lot of Tesla stock. He has a lot of stock with Twitter. So he can say, I want to leverage 100 shares of it. Most people have a little stock here, a little stock there, a little stock there, or they're investing in something like the S&P 500. So it wouldn't be a matter of going to a bank to take out a loan on it. Normally people are taking money out and they don't have to pay it back.
But there is capital gain. Don't you pay capital gains?
Taxes.
Okay,
so you'll pay taxes. It could be long-term or short-term depending on how long it was invested, but you only pay taxes on the growth.
Okay.
So the money you put in, we can't tax you. It was your money already.
Right.
But the growth, if you put in 10,000 and it's worth 20, you take out 20, you'll pay taxes on the other 10. Where it gets tricky is when people have all of their wealth in retirement. So I normally tell people don't do that.
Right.
Because majority of my clients is under 45, I would say. And let's say you want to buy a house. Let's say an emergency comes up in your life. Let's say you want to buy your kid a car. They just turned 16. Every time you pull from a 401k, you're paying a 10% penalty. Why not have an emergency fund, which I tell people to do 3 to 6 months of their bills, kind of depending on what their expenses are, and then do I guess everybody calls it something different. I generally say like a dream fund. That's your fund money. So that's where you pull for travel. That's where you pull for a down payment on a car or a down payment on a house. I tell people once that's at 20 to 40,000, depending on their annual income, then they can put as much as they want into retirement. But if you don't have $20,000 liquid, why are you putting 20% of your check into a 401k?
Makes sense. And also back to the stocks. One other question was explaining the difference between like dividend yielding stocks and versus the other ones and advantages of like
or price turning ratio.
So it depends on what people are looking to do. So if you have a portfolio like let's say the S&P 500, or there's a lot of different like Fidelity, there's a fund that I like. Different companies pay out dividends every quarter.
Right. I know Apple is one of them.
Microsoft is known for paying out their dividends, right?
No, so, quick question. Sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
And what would be like I don't know the exact terms, but like what would be the percentage of return you were looking for? Because I know like 8 to 12% is like they say like like you want 8 to 12% on return on a stock.
So when people are picking where they want to put their money, I usually tell people to go mutual fund because it's spreading your money out over different companies instead of just buying one particular stock. Now you put $100 in 100 companies, right? But it really depends on what their end goal is. So if you're a person who's 60 years old, I would tell you to focus more on being safe but getting dividends. So you may not get 12% rate of return, but you're getting a 5% dividend every month. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you are more worried about cash flow because you're close to retirement, and you are more worried about less risk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a person who is 25 and you're in this for the long run, you can go with companies that may not pay out a dividend, but they have a high rate of return.
Okay.
So that would be more technology companies. That would be companies that you are going to be around for a while and they're going to pay out pretty regularly and they're going to increase in value. But you ain't worried about an increase if you're about to take it out in 5 years.
Pretty much. That makes sense though.
But it just depends on people's comfort level. And I believe people investing in where they spending money.
Makes sense. If I don't wear Nikes, I'm not investing in Nike stock. If you don't have an iPhone, or you want to invest in Microsoft.
Yeah, if you worried about the environment, I wouldn't tell you to buy McDonald's, right? If you health conscious, I'm not gonna push you into a bunch of fast food places. But and this is why it's important to figure out what's important to people and what they plan to do with the money. Now, if a person saying, "Hey, I plan to give it all to charity," or "I plan to give it all to my grandkids," they may just want something safe that they know isn't going to really fluctuate too much. But they're not worried about what they're going to do later. But if a person tell me, as soon as I retire, I'm going to buy a boat, I'm going to buy a new house, I'm going to buy a Bentley. Okay, we need to make sure you got growth, and this money's going to last for the next however many years you expect it to be alive.
How early should we start working on retirement?
Honest answer, 18.
18. But that's coming from a person that I'm quite sure like you're teaching your kids that. So they would have that mindset. Because I feel like a lot of wealth is mentality.
Mm-hmm.
We're consumerism.
Yeah.
Like we're just so taught to buy, spend. Like you were saying, like 20% of your pay, you want to save 20% of your paycheck for a rainy day fund, or some of this for funds and vacations and whatnot. And it's like we'll cash out on that vacation. You know what I'm saying? Save up a couple checks to get that car, and we're putting ourselves in debt. That's why I was asking about leveraging credit and leveraging debt, and like.
If you can't invest, you can't leverage credit.
Right.
If you have a bad relationship with money, you're gonna have it all across the board.
How do you grow a relationship with money?
I think it requires a lot of self-developing, and it requires a lot of small habits.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught a class today. I was telling the kids, like, if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Whether it's a big purchase, a small purchase, usually with teenagers, they're just buying like shoes and clothes and food and stuff like that. But if it's going to be a financial hardship till payday, if that's a habit you create at 16, 17, 18, that's a habit you're going to have at 35.
Absolutely, because we still see people work all week and spend it all in the club.
Yeah.
So it's like we got to get over that. And it's okay to have a good time, but it's like you said, building that nest egg so that way when you are whatever age you are, you can say, "Hey man, I don't want to work no more," and you got the portfolio to support that, or I want to start my business, and I have the means to support that. And it's like a lot of time we're trapped in that cycling of financial freedom because we're locked into habits. We're slave to habits. We're slave to debts. We're slave to lifestyles. We're slaves to consumerism.
And it's not that we don't have the money. Like, I have a lot of clients. We in Rochester, a lot of people I would say, make decent money, right? And if you think about it, Black and white people work at the same places. So this person can own a home, they drive a new car, maybe a Toyota or Subaru, but they drive a new car, and they make the same exact paycheck at the end of the week as you do. But you're struggling to pay your rent because your rent is probably double their mortgage. You haven't
that's key.
Yeah, that's
rent is double the mortgage.
That's deep.
So they $4,000, $5,000 a month is going a lot farther.
And they got equity. I'm sorry to cut you off because you can borrow against that equity as well too. That's another door.
All hard time.
Right.
And their parents probably gave them their down payment. Mm-hmm. Because, like, gifting, when I bought my house and my mortgage loan originator, she was like, "Yeah, is your parents giving you any money?" I'm like, "No, why would they be giving me money?" But it's very, very common in other communities where the parents are giving them $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 in order to purchase their first home. So now you don't have to stress of, I only make $5,000 a month and I need to come up with this down payment. They're not worried about that.
Right.
They just got to be able to make the mortgage payment. And because they probably know a little more than we may when it comes to credit,
right,
they probably have a 3% interest on a car and you probably have a 20%.
I definitely had a 24% interest rate on my car, and it's again little things, little habits of that 24% is the difference between maybe $250 and $500. You know what I'm saying? And it's like things that we aren't taught, and then we have to learn it through paying 24% interest. Yeah. But at least I'll be able to teach my kids and be able to so they won't have to start off in the negatives. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's a part of the disparity as well. Like we starting off in the negatives. And it's like, we can't blame nobody, but it's just what it is. It's just where we at.
But another issue I will say that we have as like millennials and Gen X is not necessarily our parents' credit did affect them, but our grandparents could go and they worked at Kodak or they worked at the post office and they could take their paycheck to the bank and buy a house.
Yeah.
They really didn't care about credit at that point, and they had jobs that gave them pensions. So as long as they showed up, they were putting money into a retirement account.
Absolutely.
It didn't matter what they were doing extra. There's a lot of people now who are 60 plus and they're just living off their GM check, their Kodak check, their Xerox check, their state check, whether they work for the post office or police department, or so they don't understand the struggles of us because we don't get pensions.
No.
You gotta actually put your money in something and you gotta watch it.
It's definitely a different game.
It's a completely different game. We can't buy a house with a paycheck. We can't buy a house with cash unless you go to the auction. So
like you said, and it's the rent is 2 times. I mean, yeah, rent is twice the mortgage, and then the rent they want you to be making 3 times.
That was our fault, though. I'm not gonna lie, that was our fault.
Because
nobody paid their rent during COVID.
Nobody paid their rent during COVID.
No, people were not paying their rent. And then what happened, and I was making posts about this, I said it's going to be very difficult to rent when all of these things go up because nobody was getting evicted. So there was all these different laws protecting tenants, landlord, and let's be honest, a landlord could be a guy who worked a job for 20 years, he owned 2 properties, that was going to be his retirement. He may not have the extra $800 to pay the mortgage. People are really putting... Now, if it's a big company, maybe. But there was so many people who didn't pay rent. And now, in order to rent a place, it's so, like, you can rent an apartment. My first apartment, they didn't look at my credit.
No, they did.
10 years ago, you can get an apartment. Like, do you got a job?
That's it.
Show me a pay stub. They not calling or any of that. But because for 2-3 years, people are not getting paid. And I'm talking about $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in rent. And then the crazy thing was they was giving out free money, and people were just like, "Oh, I ain't gotta pay you, can't evict me."
That's deep.
But see, that speaks on the mentality.
It's a mentality thing.
That
And
go
there's
back
free
to that
money going
yeah,
around, so why would
yeah.
you not paying your rent? And now people, I can't get an apartment, or they got all these requirements. But we definitely, I will say, as a community, we did that to ourselves.
Do you think redlining still exists?
Yes.
I feel like it's the same credit. You know what I mean? Kind of like how, like, slavery exists through felonies. I feel like credit is like the economic, like that's the way that they leverage that, like the redlining. Like they can't blatantly do it, but it's like you said, we can be working the same job, same paycheck, and they got house over here, this over here, and we're still trying to figure it out.
So I'm gonna give you one example, right? My kids go to a suburban high school. My daughter is in the 10th grade. She's retired. She's required to take 2 financial classes. It's a requirement. It's not a choice. It's get put in your schedule just like math, social studies, science, right? In the city, that is not a requirement generally. It's not a core class. So that alone, if you learn about credit enough in the 11th, 12th grade, especially if you think about private schools, it's going to put you a lot further ahead than somebody who has the same exact age group, demographic, whatever the case may be, who has no idea.
Right. And a lot of times, just being real, like speaking on black people, like some of our credit be messed up before we even had an opportunity because your people's gonna put something in your name.
We'll talk about that today.
Cable in your name, RG&E in your name, you know what I'm saying? So we ain't even... I'm not gonna say we because it didn't happen to me, but a lot of people didn't even get a shot but then we even still did it to ourselves, like you said, renting the center, running off little phones, this, that, and the third stuff that we don't think makes, like we don't care at that time, but when we get older and we actually need it and we're actually trying to do something, it's like,
and nobody cares till they need it.
Nah.
Right.
Running off on ESL, being in check systems, not paying credit cards they could have paid. Now sometimes, times get hard. And if you got to pay RG&E or you got to pay a credit card bill, you're probably going to pay RG&E. But there's a lot of times where we make conscious decisions not to pay people that affect our credit.
Absolutely.
Or we'll have something on our credit that's small. Like it's $100 debt, just pay it. Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. For what? Was it you?
Or they be like, yo, give us $12 a month. You know what I'm saying?
Like, just do something. You know that this is something that's affecting you negatively. And a lot of times I feel like, and I'll say this is for like our age group, people act like if they don't look at their credit, like it doesn't exist.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like, okay, do you got credit card, bud? Do you got Experian? Do you got any of these apps? No. Okay, what's your credit score? I don't know. You 35 years old. What do you mean you don't know what it is? When was the last time you looked? And I've heard people say, like, I'm scared to look, and then you pull their credit report and it's not nearly as bad as they thought it was. But we have this fear of bad news.
No, that's what, glad you mentioned that too. Because, like, a lot of times when we apply for stuff, like, what Experian will say won't be the same thing as your hard credit pull.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that, and then that affects your score a little bit, but not that much. So, it's like, there's a difference between, because it might be higher, or it might be low, usually it's lower, but when they doing the hard pulls versus what Experian is going to show you were.
So, that's a couple different things. The biggest thing with that, though, is every credit bureau has a different number.
Now, could you, because we got to get to that too, as far as certain credit bureaus too, because the people need to know, like, what is it, like FICO,
FICO and Vantage Score. So Vantage Score is like what you would see on Credit Karma. It's not your real score if you're trying to apply for something with banking, basically. Right. Your FICO score is what you would see on like Experian. But Experian to me is not the most user-friendly app or website. And if you wanted to be user-friendly, that's $30 a month.
Right.
That you could be paying towards something else. So
what would you recommend?
I recommend just pulling your credit once a year, pulling your real credit report, freeannualcreditreport.com. You can get all three. It don't cost you anything. There's another website called Identity IQ that you can pull your report from. You pay $1, and then you gotta cancel in like 7 days. I don't know what it is after $1, but please cancel.
The finesse is real.
Yeah, it'd be like $250 for the year. You what?
Yeah, and they make you put your card information in there, so don't forget. But I do believe, in my opinion, every credit person will probably have different opinions. I believe Credit Karma has the fastest notifications, and you're going to be able to see all your stuff. Now, don't worry about the score, but if you want to see who you owe, Credit Karma going to tell you, and you got to pay extra to see it. Okay. So I like the app for that reason. And information is generally very, very accurate over there. But people get hung up on, oh, well, Credit Karma isn't the real score, but the credit profile is really what you're worried about. Now, when it comes to applying for things, you have 3 different, or not even just applying for things, but your credit scores. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax is 3 different companies. Right. And you can apply for a loan with Navy Federal, and maybe they only use Experian and Equifax, so you didn't get that hit on TransUnion. Right. So maybe the score is a little different for that, or maybe you got a credit card that doesn't report to Equifax, so your Equifax is 20 points lower than TransUnion and Experian. So I do think sometimes that confuses people, or they only look at one score and they just go with that. The biggest 2 things I feel like where they want to see all 3 scores is usually a car loan and a mortgage. They take all 3 and they usually give you the average.
So what about business credit?
As
far as okay, like if I'm fast forward, I got my credit right. Mm-hmm. I'm looking to start a business. Because that pulls off of your personal credit, if I'm not mistaken.
They generally, if you have no business credit, they want you to what is called personally guarantee whatever you're trying to take out. So they pull your personal credit. They kind of use that number to decide whether they're going to approve you or not, and your income. The biggest thing with business credit is how you utilize it is going to be different based on the business that you have and whether you already have cash flow or not. So a lot of times, like, the business credit gurus will make it seem like it's a blanket statement for everybody. It's not. Because if you got a t-shirt line that you haven't started yet, and this person has a landscaping business they've been doing for the past 4 years, and they got proof of income and, statements and things like that, what they could do with their business credit may be a little different than what you can do. Also, what you need to use your business credit for may be different. Especially with those, like, websites where you could, the net 30, net 60s. If you got a t-shirt line, you're not going to need the same thing as somebody who is running a car wash or a laundry service or things. Y'all got 2 different needs. Right. So one thing I hate about social media is they're like, oh, go do X, Y, and Z. But was that the right step for what you're trying to do? Now you got all these accounts you can't use, and you got to make payments on, and you got to buy stuff you don't need.
Trade lines, right?
Trade lines, right. Yeah. So you're investing money into something before you even got a real business loan. because you're trying to build your business credit up. To at least if you got to invest in something, pick trade lines that you can use towards your business to start having some type of cash flow.
And you can use like, if I don't know, depending on the business, like you said, depending on the business, but like a Home Depot card is one of them. Like some of the stores that you're gonna
Sam's
be
Club is
right.
popular. Well, I mean, we ain't got one now, but
yeah, like kind of like correlated to your business. So we kind of skip this step because if I'm starting a business, we got to figure out like how do you determine what business is right for you? Because everybody just scream out LLC or DBAs. It's like LLCs are limited liability corporations, and we know DBAs is do a business as, but C Corp, S Corp, whatever. But like, how do you know what business is right for you? Like, if I'm like you said today, like a t-shirt company, or I'm doing hair, I'm selling plates out the kitchen. Like, how do you know like which one is gonna benefit you the most?
I think what people should do, and it is an initial investment, but they should
read a book.
Read a book. But I do think they should reach out to somebody who does some type of business credit and help them figure out what avenue they need to go. Because if let's say you do hair, right, and you don't have any expenses yet, you're not really looking for a business loan, but you just want to open a bank account. Now you let somebody on TikTok convince you to go get an LLC, you making $2,000 a month. You could have did that with a DBA. You know what I mean? And now this LLC you got to pay taxes on. There's all these other things you had to do for that corporation, and you never wanted business credit. You just wanted a bank account. But because we get so much of our information from the internet instead of reading a book,
right,
or instead of seeking professional advice, you could have saved yourself. I mean, what is it now to start an LLC? About two something up front?
Yeah. About $500 altogether. Like,
yeah,
all
you got to put in a newspaper and all of that. If
Yeah.
you could have did that with a $35 DBA, you just want to open a business bank account, and EIN is free. You know, you got to kind of figure out what is going to be best for what you're trying to do. Now, if you're trying to get a loan for $50,000 in 30 days, there is going to be some upfront investments you're going to have to pay. You probably want to get guidance from somebody who's got someone $50,000 in 30 days before. I don't think if you're trying to, in my opinion, if you're looking to get business credit, I don't think the first time you should do it on your own. It's probably going to cost you more than it would cost you to pay somebody to do it. Then once you know what you're doing, knock yourself out. Go run with it.
Right.
But we be so...
Ownership, but 100% of zero is zero.
Yes, 100% of zero is zero.
That's a fact.
And a lot of times people who do business credit for other people. So they could connect you with people who already do that business, networks, things like that. We got to stop having this fear of, I'm not trying to put money in your pocket for you to put money in mine.
I'm glad you said that. No, I'm glad you said that because, like, in order for because black people spend $1.8 trillion.
Mm-hmm. We're the largest consumers compared to everybody combined.
1.8, that's more than some small countries.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
That's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
Like, I think our country owes like $11 trillion in debt. Like, that's a 10% of that that we're spending. And I feel like a lot of that is we don't know how to support one another. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't practice group economics. Like, it's like, and I get it. You know, there are certain issues with certain things, you know what I mean? But it's like, okay, if I know you offer this service, it might be a little bit more expensive if I go through you, but you in the same boat as me, you trying to get off the ground. But you're gonna send your business to somebody else that's a little bit more established, could do a little bit more cheaper. So our money's not circulating. Yeah,
our money circulates like 20 something minutes, and the Asian dollar circulates for like 3 weeks.
That's insane. That is insane. Like, we're not.
But part of it, right, and this is why entrepreneurship is important, part of it is we don't have us to go to, right? So, like, let's say nails, for example. There's more Asian people who do nails than there is black people.
Right.
So, a lot of us that's part of that $1.8 trillion. But if there was more of us, we could go to us when it comes to that. Or, I'm trying to think what's another service that we really not a part of.
Nothing, really. I mean, think about it. I mean, look, we got. We maybe have 3. We probably have 3 soul food restaurants here.
Yeah.
We probably. I'm not saying there aren't services because there are services, but it's not like a standard or a go-to. It's like we 3 restaurants. We might.
I'm the only black woman broker in upstate New York.
Are
The
you
closest-
serious?
The closest one
I
is
love
New York
it.
City.
And how was that journey like getting to be there? Like, did you have to go to school? Did you get a certification, or was it just through experience?
So there is licenses you have to get to be a financial advisor. I have 6 different licenses. I did majority of my stuff online.
Okay.
It's like a self-study thing, and you gotta go take these tests and pray you pass.
But instead of going on Facebook, micro scrolling and stuff like that, you can utilize your time to invest in yourself. That's one way you can invest in yourself too, knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, like I tell people all the time when, they join my team, I'm like, even if you decide in a year this isn't for you, what you're going to learn working here is going to be something that will literally change not just your life, but everybody around you. Like, because you're going to know things that you don't know today.
Right.
Like me, for example, before I got here, I had an old 401k, but that was it. I didn't have any investments really established for my kids. My kids had 3 bank accounts that I made them more the first year I invested it than they had. My oldest daughter had her account for like 14 years. But I didn't know anything about investing. So to me, I get a kid, I get a bank account, I got some little extra money, tax time come, put a couple $100s in there. That was like my way of planning for them. I didn't know anything about investing. My daughter go to college for free, and I've only been doing this for 4 years.
Oh wow.
My parents, my dad had worked at the same factory for 15 years. I was able to kind of give him some guidance as far as like moving things around with his investment account. He's been paying somebody a fee anyway to manage his investment for the past 15 years, but didn't have a person. They just collecting the fee because they manage it for that whole company. Now I can say, nah, Dad, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. And he'll probably retire a couple years earlier. That's what getting into finance really does for people. And I mean, pay good. I ain't gonna lie, to pay good.
Yeah.
But if they want to do something else, knock yourself out. But now you know things that, like, let's be honest, money up there with air.
Right.
Everything in the world costs money. It's nothing that's really free. So if you can learn as much as you can about money, you can literally change the trajectory of your future.
Absolutely. And like you said, not just yours. It's you impacted your father, your kids. I'm quite sure your siblings and other. Just like, I'm not even gonna say this like minute things, but just cool little things that is easy to move around real quick. It's like not too much of a commitment. Just move some things around, and now like we changing the trajectory, not just myself but everybody around me. So it's like that's the point, because it's like we all got dreams, we all got goals. Everybody want to take a vacation. Everybody want a nice car. We all want some shiny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's the discipline and the development to get there, because you're gonna hit your head on that wall if you're getting that 24% interest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus, okay, let me get my affairs in order. Maybe wait a year or two. I want a car. I don't need that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that brand new right now. Let me stay down for 6 months, a year, 2 years, build myself up. Then I can get whatever I want, go wherever I want.
Even like me, for example, I want to buy a new car. I'm not gonna lie, I want a Benz. I'm not gonna lie. So, but I do plan to relocate next year.
Okay.
So I was telling somebody like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna like buckle down, buy the car cash, because I don't want any additional ties when I leave. I don't want no car notes. I don't want nothing when I leave, and I want to buy a house within 6 months to a year leaving. So I don't want to have a loan on my report that I really don't need.
Right.
When I could just spend the money and be done. And they're like, oh no, just get a brand new car and get a loan. That doesn't go with my vision. I know what my vision is. I could get a brand new car. I do have good credit, but now I'm going to have a payment. Even if I put $20,000 down, I'm going to have a couple $100 payment, which is going to take away from the mortgage I know I want a year from now.
Right.
Maybe once I get a house, then I'll go get a brand new car and I just trade the one I just bought in. But if I know I have something I plan to do in the next year or two, sometimes that delayed gratification is just, it makes more sense in the long run. Because what if, I get to Texas and I could have got a house for $500,000 and I can only get $450,000 because I got a new car.
Right.
Do I want the Benz more than I want, like, is it gonna matter if I get a 2021, 2022, or 2025 that much in the long run?
Versus them square feet, them acres.
Right. Versus another $50,000.
With the house thing, is it considered a house is bought if you're paying mortgage? Like, let's say, because people will be like, I'm going to buy a house, but they're paying mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you miss payments on the mortgage, can they come take your house from you?
Yes, but it's very different than being evicted, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
So let's say you got a mortgage with Penny Mac. I'm gonna use Penny Mac for example. Let's say you got a mortgage with Penny Mac and you fall on hard times. You could call Penny Mac, hey, I just lost my job, I got cancer, my kid is in the hospital, I can't make payments. They will take 6 months to a year of your payments and put it back on a loan. Put it on the back of the loan.
End. Wow.
A landlord ain't never gonna do that for you.
Mm.
You could call and say like, hey, for the next 2-3 months, I got X, Y, and Z going on. I can't pay the full payment. Or I'm on unemployment, so my income went down $2,000. I can't pay you $1,000, but I could pay $5. They'll say, okay, cool. We'll take $5 for the next couple months, and then you can pay an extra $100 a month for the next year after you get back on your feet. You don't have that opportunity when it comes to renting. Another example, you fall on hard times. I bought my house for $85,000 6 years ago. Now if I sold it, I would make about $200.
Right.
Oh,
right.
wow.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
So,
that's
so I was right before COVID, September before COVID.
Mm.
So let's say I fall on hard times. I could go to my mortgage company, a different mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, if I want. Hey, I want to pull out $60,000 in equity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My hard times is done, and I just gotta pay the $60,000 off over the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can't do that. Like, it's things with home ownership that renting is never going to be able to do for you. But I don't think home ownership is for everybody.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, don't let people kind of pressure you, or social media, things like that, pressure you into doing it. Plus, you also got to think about, now it's different now because interest and prices, but my mortgage is $850 and my neighbor's rent is $1,800. So that $1,000, when people are like, oh, your roof's gonna fall in, or you're gonna have to buy a water heater. I had to buy a water heater, it was $1,000. And I put it on the credit card.
Leveraging. There you go.
I paid somebody $350 to put it in. What else do people say? All these things are gonna happen when you own a house. Granted, that is true. All of those things could happen, but one, if you got homeowners insurance, a lot of stuff is covered. And two, if you're saving significantly less and you're planning accordingly with your finances, you should have a little nest egg in case things come up. Or you should have decent credit still where you can pull from your equity if you got to remodel something in your house.
Right, but that's my thing though. Wouldn't that in turn, like, if you have to put a brand new roof on it, ain't that's gonna raise the value anyway?
It's gonna raise value.
So it's like, okay, that stuff's gonna happen, but now I know this water heater's good for 20 years because I put it in myself.
Yeah.
And so it's something, because y'all on mortgages, right?
Mm-hmm.
13-month mortgages, like,
paying your mortgage bi-weekly.
or I think they say you can pay an extra payment and it knocks off like 5 years. If you make an extra payment a year, it'll knock off like 5 years on the back end and stuff like that. Like,
Yep. So if you pay your mortgage bi-weekly, you'll make 13 payments because it's 26 pay periods.
okay.
So you'll make 13 payments, and if you do that, you'll pay off your mortgage between 24 and 25 years versus 30.
Does that work with auto loan, like car loans too, as well? Like, can you decide to say, hey, I just want to give y'all $1,000 on the principal, or because I know you can do that with houses. I wasn't sure if you were able to do that with cars as well.
I suggest people do it with cars. Because usually the interest on cars be crazy.
Yes.
Even right now, if you got decent credit, you may still, if you get a used car, the interest is kind of high just because of how the market is right now in the Fed. But if you, tax time, I tell people all the time, drop $1,000 on your debt as soon as your taxes hit. Whatever debt you have, or my favorite one is pay your car note and your rent for 3 months. If you pay those for 3 months, that's a stress you ain't got to worry about for 90 days. And if you keep paying bi-weekly, like if you split it up, instead of having to pay $1,000, $1,500 on the first, if you split it up bi-weekly, in 1 week you can't put money on it, you 90 days ahead. You do that over 9 months, by the time it's tax time again.
And like you said, depending on, like, that's kind of like some hard shit. Like, even if you are going through something rough, you got 90 days. You got 90 days to figure it out. So
before you're behind. But we get our taxes and go get a new TV and we go get whatever
furniture set and go to a concert.
Yeah, and go out. Maybe take a little trip. I know everybody is sober right now.
I keep hearing, what is that?
Sun's out, buns out.
Oh my gosh, I'm so out the loop too old.
Yeah.
Oh my
But no shade to anything like that, because I do believe we don't work for free. Like, I think people should enjoy their life. You know, I go out of town a lot.
Absolutely.
But you do have to live
accordingly.
You have to live accordingly. You got to live within your means. And when you get that lump sum of money, if you have a plan for it before it comes, then you know throughout the rest of the year you ain't got to stress as much. You ain't got to struggle. You ain't got to be like, nobody should be paycheck to paycheck, in my opinion, who got more than $5,000 in taxes for at least 6 months.
$5,000 in taxes. You should not be paycheck to paycheck.
You heard?
Because people get their taxes, they spend it in 30 days, and they couldn't even tell you what they spend it on.
And it's like, you don't live like this regularly throughout the year. So why would you shift? Because it's like delayed instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I seen Delise just went here. They just got this new car. He just went and got this house. Now I feel like I gotta.
And social media is killing us.
Yep, social media.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Literally.
Yeah.
Thief of joy. Like, you gotta run your own race.
Celebrities, or you comparing yourself to what this girl doing and her being a scammer. Yeah, man got a job. Like, you know, you gotta focus on what you're doing with yourself and what your own.
And now you're putting. I'm glad you said that, because now I'm not saying all men and I'm not saying all women, but now there's kind of like a little burden, because to uphold this lifestyle, when it's like we should be building this lifestyle. Like, first of all, if I'm a man and I come to the table with everything already, it's no compromise, because I came with everything already. I came made up already, versus me building with somebody. So when do you think couples should like introduce finances? Like, say we kind of like the first day.
The first
okay,
day.
talk about it.
Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Why would you waste either of your time?
Okay.
Right.
But the first day?
Yeah, the first day.
What are we talking about the first day? We're talking about monthly income, annual income? Are we talking about, or just goals? Like, in 5 years I want to be here. Like, what are we talking about on the first day?
I think one conversation people should have on the first day is the 50-50 conversation. What does that look like to this dynamic?
Okay.
Because you can't convince people out of certain things. Certain things people are already set in their ways. They've been influenced, whether it's red pill, their mama, their daddy, their great granddad. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's certain things that they're gonna abide by, and there's no amount of love or time that's going to get them out of that.
Absolutely.
Right? So you could go on 5 dates with people and then ask about it, you know, like, or women that want to be kept. My parents been married 33 years. My mom don't work. Thank you. My mom don't work. Well, she I don't want to say fake work, but she don't pay bills. That's what I'm saying. My mom doesn't pay bills. Never has paid bills, right? If she dated somebody else, I'm sure she would. Not that she would, but I'm sure she would have the same standard, right?
Right.
There's women out there that want to be kept. I don't knock that hustle at all whatsoever. But if you dating somebody who have a 50-50 mindset, you know you don't want to pay no bills, that's something y'all need to figure out in the beginning. Because he gonna waste money on a date with somebody who y'all never gonna see eye to eye on.
Well, my thing is this, right? And again, we talk about, let's go back to group economics, strengths and weaknesses. I'm alleviating bills from you for what? How is this gonna put us where we want to be at in 5 years? You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like, realistically, because it
depends on what you're looking for in a partner, right?
Yes.
So if you're looking for somebody who you have a business idea, you want them to be basically your secretary, you want them to just take care of the kids, you want to make sure when you get home dinner is done. If you didn't have that person, all of those things will cost you money.
Right.
I think when men say, well, if I'm paying all the bills, what am I getting? If the person is giving you other things, that is something that should be valued.
No, I'm not saying what am I getting. It's one of them. I'm not saying what's right. Like, what am I getting as an individual? I'm saying, how is that helping us?
That could be how she helped. It depends on.
Okay. Well, we still got this.
It depends.
Yeah, that one did, but we still got it.
It depends on what you find value in. So, like my parents, for example, right? My dad used to be in the military, and then he's worked his whole life since he was like 14 or something. My dad found value in my mom cooking him dinner every day.
She made his day easier.
She made his day easier.
Right.
I don't think my dad ever really had to do laundry or anything like that. And my mom raised her kids. And I will admit, my parents turned out with 4 really good kids. One of my baby sister in RN school, she bought a house at 19. I own a business. My older sister's a doctor. My middle sister works for the state. None of us have any felonies. None of us have anything, crazy going on. So it probably was worth that investment for him. You know what I mean? So it depends on what the man finds value in. Now, if a man wants somebody to split bills with, let's be honest, what is it in for? What is the benefit for her?
More money. Because again, but see, I think when we have
Look, y'all put me in the.
no,
I'm
look,
trying to
because I feel
stay
like
cool.
I feel like when we
Right
have
now.
I'm trying to
because
stay
I feel like
cool
when
right
we
now.
have these conversations,
You
it's
saying more money, right?
no, but I feel like there's a
Do
difference
you
in the
expect her
mind
to cook and
state.
clean?
No, I don't mind cleaning. I don't mind cooking. I'm a hell of a cook, so I don't mind cooking, but I'm gonna do one or the other. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna cook or clean. I'm not gonna do both. I don't mind cooking. I don't mind sharing household because I feel like we're trying to measure modern times with traditional values, and then there's a hiccup in there because, like you said, they were able to leverage paychecks at their jobs and go get houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And houses, they didn't cost that much back then.
Yeah.
They didn't need as much.
I think my parents' first house was like $40,000.
Didn't need that much. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now it's like you kind of need like
you need 2 incomes.
You do need 2 incomes. Even if you're one person, you still need 2 incomes as one person. So it's like, and then like you said, the social media is kind of like ruining our impression on things. So it's like, okay, well, if we want this, we can get it, but it's like you can't expect to leave me on zero, or me expect to leave you. You know what I'm saying? Like it has to be a compromise.
It may not be zero because if she does work, right? I do, and keep in mind, I do finance for couples all the time. Everybody run their stuff differently, is what I've learned. I just tell people, let the people tell me their system, and then I just try to give guidance off of that. But I have a couple right now, fairly young, they under 30. For 2 years she stayed home because they had 2 or 3 kids back to back. So they had like little kids. Instead of paying for daycare, it would have been cheaper for her not to work. She's went back to work, and he's like, we was living off our salary, so we're gonna invest her salary now, and they're gonna retire at like 47 or something like that.
Right.
Now their kids are going to college and things of that nature, and they could attend everything. If you got a kid in this state, that state, you could go wherever you want because they're retired. But they're giving up her $5,000-$6,000 a month salary for 20 years. A lot. So it's not that. It depends on what those goals are. It's a trust thing. Now, if things go south, which is a conversation we had, and a lot of people don't want to have those conversations.
My fault.
No, you're okay. A lot of people don't want to have those conversations, but what do you do with all these savings if things don't work out? They decided that if that ever happens, they would do 25% would get put up for the kids' future, and then they would split what's left.
That makes sense.
But it depends on the couple.
But I feel like a lot of people lead with well, this happened to me. Or, I feel like a lot of us lead so much on experiences. Well, I've been, this happened to me, I don't trust dudes with money, I don't trust women with money, do. So a lot of times we don't ever, you'll be like one in name and title, but not like all together. I feel like it's a pick and choose, because I don't care what woman it is, she's always going to have her little fun somewhere. Women are never truly broke. Like a man will be like, this is it, this is everything. And a woman might even come to the table too, like, this is, but they're gonna keep a little, and I'm cool with that, because I don't expect a woman to go 50-50 with me. I expect you to go match my effort. If I'm going all in with my effort, go all in with your effort. At least if we agreeing on this.
In my opinion, so we was talking about other people. You know what I'm saying? My personal opinion, I feel like 50-50 isn't a thing. Because there's going to be times where
80-20,
I did
right.
80-20, or you did 60-40, or, let's say a woman have a baby. She ain't working for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever the case may be. There's still bills being due. So I don't feel like 50-50. I think it's just a conversation people have. But I do feel like people need to figure out what's important to them.
I agree.
I think they need to figure out, and they need to figure that out very early on. Not even just 50-50, but do you have any investments? Do you have any retirement? Because if you're talking to somebody who's 40 years old and they tell you no, they got a lot of catching up to do. That will take, if y'all just ever decide to further on and be together, that's going to take from either what you got going on or what they can bring in the household. Because hopefully, if you are a woman who's investing, you like, okay, like, we got to, you got to do something, right? So,
makes sense.
And sometimes dating is projects, and you got to figure out
longevity.
what you want to invest your time, money, or effort into. And if you talk to somebody and they be like, I don't got a bank account, I don't got no investments, I only been at, my job for 3 months. And if you a person who really values finances, it's never gonna work. It's certain things you can teach people, but it's very hard to teach from scratch. And they already got those habits.
So you trying to break them.
And you can't break men from their habits.
Vice versa.
I feel like it's way harder to break a man from their habits than a woman. A woman is more likely to listen. A woman is more likely to listen with logic.
But you saying that?
What? I feel like
look, you're saying that with a father.
Yeah, that's
that
key.
plays a key. I think in both male and female on the mindset. Like you come from a married family, like your mom and your dad married. A lot of people don't come from that, so they see struggle mentality. They don't see thriving mentality.
I don't even think it's struggle mentality. I think it's a new word for it.
What's that?
I think people see hustle mentality. They just worry about how to get the money, not how to keep it. There's a lot of people like, oh yeah, my mama worked 3 jobs. Why?
That's not a flex. That's not a flex.
Like, what was going on that your mama had to work 3 jobs? Like, is she undocumented? Like, what was going on? Was she just a really, really hard worker and she wanted to work? Like, something had to be going on for her to do that. Or they'd be like, oh yeah, I do hair, I do this, I do that, and I got a job. Why? How about you just get really good at one of those things, or maybe 2? But you got 75 different hustles, and I'm assuming you can't be that good at all of them, or you would be talking to me anyway.
Right. Or they got 75 habits that match those hustles. Like you said, we get the money coming in. If your expenses exceed your income, then
you still broke.
You losing money, and then
I know a lot of people who make 6 figures. That's paycheck to paycheck.
Because it's a mentality thing. So that's why that was, to me, I feel like that's one of the most important things. Is like kind of like getting those urges or getting those things out the way, or to develop that mentality, because it's really about learning how to make your money work for you instead of you just constantly chasing it. You gotta attract it.
The hustle mentality. Yeah. A lot of people, and that's where that 1.8 trillion. A lot of people know how to get. People think that because a lot of zip codes in Rochester are considered low income. But people is getting to a bag, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's people getting to a bag. I'll go through the budget, like, you make $7,000 and you live weird? Like, why do you live over there? But they got a nice car with a high interest rate. They kids getting every pair of Jordans, but you don't got $200 in the bank.
And that's a lot of that 1.8 is spent on, like, how do you call it? Like, replaceable goods. Like, just because a new thing came out. Just because new sneakers came out, we're getting some more. New phone. You don't, again, and it's like wants and needs. It's like, so you need a phone. You don't have to buy a $2,000 phone. Or you don't have to buy a $30,000 or $50,000 car. You can go grab you a little 10, a little 20, a little 2,000. You know what I mean? It depends, like you said, it just depends on where you are and where you're trying to go, and those sacrifices that you feel like you got to make. So if you feel like you have to be in that Benz or that Audi or that whatever, then you're gonna pay for that.
You're gonna pay for it.
And especially if you don't have the tools or the education to say, you know what, let me defer all of this, and then I'll get it when it makes sense, and I don't have to pay that much for it, because the car is worth $50,000, but you done paid $150,000 because of the interest.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back to the China thing. How y'all feel about the knockoff clothes and all that coming out?
Entrepreneurship. I feel like we knew this already. Shaq told us years ago when he said, I'm selling my sneakers for $20-something or $50, so whatever he sold his sneakers for, when he could have sold them for what Jordan sold his sneakers for.
Because he wanted
his shoes to be affordable.
Be affordable, and that's why he sold them.
So it's like the internet eliminated the middleman. Like, you can go direct to consumer with most product. If you making a product, you can go direct to consumer. You selling plays, advertise on Facebook, you direct to consumer. Like, the internet eliminated direct to consumer, so now you don't have to go through a lot of stuff to get you some clothes made. You can literally order something on a website, and the factory will call you. You can get the specifications made, and they'll send it right to you.
You
I
still
don't know.
think
I ain't
people
wearing no
gonna-
fake Gucci bag though.
I was just about to ask that. You think they gonna
But
wear
this the
knockoff?
1.8 trillion though. You're paying for literally. They're
But I don't
stitching
mind
you.
not having it. But if I'm gonna have it, I'm not gonna get the fake one. That's just me personally. That's just my. I would rather not have it than have the
So
knockoff.
what's the difference? I'm saying
Status.
like
It's a status symbol.
it's the status symbol because all I
Yeah.
feel like okay if it's still
It's not
made
even
in
just
China.
a status symbol. So I do look at certain things as investments, and purses can be one, right? So
Do they retain value? I know Rolexes do. But do
a Hermes purse retains more value than a Rolex.
okay. Now I'm learning.
Ooh,
So
really?
if
know that.
I was to even like, I'm trying to think of a never full Louis Vuitton. It's like the starter purses of purses, right? You could buy one for $2,400.
That's the starter.
That's a starter. But hold on. Before COVID, you could buy it for $1,600.
Okay.
So now, if you got one that you bought a couple years ago, you probably could sell it as a used purse for $1,800. You made $200. You've been wearing this purse for 2 years. Or if Chanel bags hold value really well. Birkins hold value really well.
What is
YSL,
it that's holding the value? It's not the leather. It's the name, right?
It's the name. It is the name,
Right.
but it's still an investment. Now, if you buy a knockoff, and granted, you may have saved $3,000, you ain't never gonna be able to resell a knockoff purse.
Well, why
the
do you need to
don't know
resell
better.
it? You paid probably a couple hundred for it.
I
What
just
do you-
look at it as an investment. So if I'm gonna spend,
That's just how
and
your
then
brand right here.
I don't plan. It's nothing that I own that's a clothing item or a purse or anything that I'm gonna wear forever, right? So, or sneakers. I not really into sneakers as much anymore, but I used to be. So if I got a pair of sneakers and I know I could sell them, then I'm not gonna just hold on to them for 30 years just to, like, at some point you're gonna get rid of stuff. So whatever people's vices is, I think that
That's your vice. Just say
The
that. That's-
purses.
Just say
no,
that's your
purses ain't
vice.
really, they not really my, I wouldn't say it's my vice. Like, that's the Coach bag. But I just don't see me buying a knockoff. And this is how I look at, because I am a business, right? So people are so focused on, oh, it's the same exact material, but China didn't put in the marketing that Louis Vuitton put in. That building in New York City of Louis Vuitton that looks like a Louis Vuitton suitcase, crazy. That cost them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing no fashion shows in China for Louis Vuitton or for Chanel or for Birkin. They not, one of the stores threw somebody a baby shower. They not doing those things in
That's
China.
crazy.
But and they don't have
That's
staff
insane.
in the stores. All of those people got to get paid. So yes, it may have cost the store, or even to just build a name. How much do you think Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes? How much do you think they spend to get to that point?
Hundreds of millions, billions probably.
So
I think what
that's
is it?
where the markup comes from. But people don't think about business that way.
LVMH. I
Yeah.
think that's Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy. So that brand alone is like
They spend trillions of
Yeah,
dollars
of course,
to
yeah,
become
easily.
that brand. They have all these people they employ and staff. That's really what you're paying for. People be like, "Oh my God, but the bag only cost $30." No, it didn't, because you wouldn't even want that bag
It's
if
the
it
name.
wasn't for all the marketing behind it. If they wasn't doing all this stuff for celebrities to make you want to be even interested in it.
But the flip side of that coin is
if you only care about the quality,
right.
then buy the knockoff.
The flip side of that coin is, well, it costs $30 to make the bag, so they probably paid them people a significant. They probably paid 10 cents an hour, or I don't know, just $1 a day or something like that to get that made.
Mhm.
And those people are like, well, we getting paid $1 to make this bag. It costs 30, and they're about to put 2 more zeros on it, maybe even 4 more zeros on it. By the time they get to wherever because some of them bags range from 3,000 to 30,000. Birkins go 40, 50,000.
Mhm.
So we're making $1 we're getting $1 to make this bag, and
But you got to think about it in all reality. China set those prices.
the minimum wage over there.
Yeah, China set those prices. That has nothing to do with tariffs, with America, with any. Now they're giving us all the tea. But China told these companies, we're going to make this stuff for you for this amount. They decided they wanted to mark it up. That's just how business works.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think a lot of times because we are consumers, we are looking at things from a consumer standpoint and not from a business standpoint. Because let's be honest, nobody would want a Birkin if celebrities wasn't walking around with them.
Absolutely.
Nobody would want a Benz if it didn't have status symbols. Nobody would want a Rolex if it wasn't going to start certain conversations. So, yes, could you do that? And there people who are celebrities that wear knockoffs. Absolutely.
A lot of them.
Or they get stuff that was given to them. It was free. And now
Or they rent it. They rent a lot of this stuff too.
We feel like we got to spend all this money so we could be like these people. I don't believe in doing that. I don't care how much money you got. I think it's ridiculous. We're not on TV.
Who needs to see you? Like, where are you going? That unless you're like, again, unless you practice a high level business and you, like you said, you're walking in a boardroom. Okay, then a Rolex might be appropriate for you because you're conducting business and it's a gentleman's watch or whatever. So it's like the rooms you're like, what rooms are you walking in that you need?
That it makes sense for you.
Yeah, that you need those things. But
I'm gonna give me a Rolex this year.
I'm looking.
But I'm gonna give me a $6,700 Rolex. I'm not gonna get a $40,000 Rolex. But I'm still gonna be a black girl with a Rolex. So it's still gonna be a conversation starter.
There you go. And I feel like I don't know, I kind of feel like with the whole tariff thing, trying to kind of like pulling the curtain, it just kind of like, hopefully it kind of like pulled the veil down so we don't value these things as much. And because my thing is like this, we'll go spend all of this money on these bags, but there's somebody down the street right now that, you know what I'm saying, they're making some bad, not saying that it's the same quality or whatever, but
I do think we shop local more.
Shop local,
shop black
yeah, more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's one of my things is like supporting our own to where you can build up just to be, because okay, cool, right? And like you said, nobody wants a lot of these bags until they see celebrities with it. But what celebrities are we really seeing making this stuff cool? Most of the times is us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We making Gucci cool. We're making this cool. We're making that.
And they
cool.
really don't want us in it.
Don't want us in it at all.
Don't want us.
But they understand that we're gonna spend so much money on it. They'll be stupid to not market to us. Like kind of like I'm a wave this in front. I know you can't afford it, but I'm gonna wave it in front of you so that I'm gonna make you want to go get it. So you're gonna go broke behind it, and you're gonna go get it.
But that's crazy because
did y'all hear the story? A Cadillac.
Cadillac, the car.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that, but I do know it was a status symbol.
So African Americans saved Cadillac back in I think the 60s. Reason being, we could not purchase a car brand new because dealerships wouldn't sell to us. So we had to buy a car from somebody who already owned a car, right? So Cadillac was about to go under. Like, they weren't making any money. They're about to file for bankruptcy. They decided, we're going to allow black people to come to us for either a loan or to purchase a car cash. Because black people had such a bad experience with banking at that time, we had cash at home. Mm-hmm. Under the mattress, we whatever we make it, we keep it. And back then, because of the way things were, we were a lot better at saving.
We had to, yeah. We
had to because emergencies was crazy back then, right? So because of that, as soon as they announced it, a year later, Cadillac was the #1 car for like 5 years straight. I believe. And then everybody else decided to kind of follow suit.
I know we did that with Jordan. Jordan said Nike rather, because you know what I mean. And it's like we don't look at that like we
have so much power.
Don't even see it, and it's like the whole world sees it but us, and it's like we need to start cultivating those mindsets first, and then the practices. You know what I mean, and then everything else. Because I think the same thing happened with Jackie Robinson. Like the Negro League was doing good, and then I think it was the Dodgers or whatever. It wasn't really selling like that, but Jackie Robinson was him. So it was pretty much same story.
They just took him out of the veterans.
The Hall of Fame thing?
Yeah.
Who
they said he was a DEI, Jackie Robinson.
Diversity, inclusion?
Equity and inclusion, yeah. Even though he was a veteran and he was, very important to U.S. history, but...
they'll strip us. And then that's another conversation. So it's like diversity, inclusion is like, I'm not gonna lie.
That's not for black people.
But none of this stuff ever was, and I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna sound a little crazy, but I feel like we were at our best during segregation. Like we were spending so much. Like you had you had Tulsa, Oklahoma, you had Durham, North Carolina. There was a lot of places to where like these were self-sufficient cities or neighborhoods and stuff like that. And it's like even
I would say yes and no, because every time we got too big, they
blew us up. Yeah,
they burned it down or tried to infiltrate it in some way, shape, or form. I will say when it comes to DEI, the people who benefited the most was
white women.
White women for sure. A lot of veterans and older people who may not be as competent. Like one of the rules of DEI is you can't get rid of somebody because they older and they might move slower, but without DEI you could. But to be honest, when everybody was getting all upset about the whole DEI conversation, I'm like, if you think about it, nothing has ever been given to us. We are probably more qualified than 90% of the white people that work there. No tea, no shade, but there's no CEO that has the same qualifications as black that would have the same qualifications as a white person in the same exact position at the same exact corporation, and they're probably doing it for less.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a black woman. So this mindset of
I think black women out-earn and out-educate black men.
now.
I think it's been like that for like maybe 5 years or so.
But if we were going for the same job, you would get it.
Am I qualified?
I won't say the
not
same
me
job.
personally.
If we were going for the same leadership role, you would be more likely to get it because you're a man. Even though I probably would be more qualified, more educated. But black men, if black men apply as a felon black men apply for a job as a non-felon, a white felon would be more likely to get
Absolutely, because I am a felon, and it's like I've been qualified for a lot of jobs that kind of went, but it is what it. That's another thing you got to circumnavigate. It's kind of like whatever.
So that's another form of like redlining in the workplace.
Most definitely.
It's funny because our president's felon. But certain people can't operate a machine. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, this is the world. This is the world we live in. And
wait, what's the different linings though? So we got red lining. That's all we ever really talk about.
That was like
is there blue lining?
No, it's just red lining is basically meaning it's trying to keep a certain demographic
like
out
in
of
a zip
something.
code. Think expressway, right? Most of the expressways cut the city off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's kind of like within
most
the city.
Most expressways were built through a hood.
Right.
Yeah, to cut that off. You know what I'm saying? Like
even Rochester. Rochester is not connected to a throughway.
Yes,
you gotta drive through Victor to get to a throughway, but the throughway doesn't drive through Rochester.
Now I have read this thing on blue lining, but I can't remember what it was saying. Like it was different linings.
But red line is usually to like banking and real estate normally is where
it was a freedmen's bank back in the days where a lot of people put their money into after slavery, and they just pretty much like
took all the money.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, to this day, there's a lot of like older black people that don't trust banks.
And I kind of wanted to get into that because I kind of feel like that's like one of the disparities between us and having a relationship with money is because you kind of, like you said, back in the days, we just had money under the mattress. And it's like being that we need credit and we need certain things, you kind of need these financial institutions to be able to excel because you can't buy no Benz in cash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Not without no proof, or they gonna report you.
You know what I mean? You're not buying no
even with
home.
Proof, they might report you.
Still gonna report anything over 10,000 and report it. And you're not buying no house with no cash. So it was like we kind of always had that relationship with. And then it's like we had a few black banks, but it's like what happened to them? Because I was doing a little research. And it's like they were kind of like smaller branches, but they weren't able to like. I know like a lot of them weren't like federally insured, like FDIC, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of them like just was going through some stuff.
So one issue is, in order for banks to stay open, they have to have a certain amount of money. So
on hand, like liquid cash, right?
Liquid cash. Now banks can lend out $1 9 times. So if you put $10,000 in the bank, they can lend out $90,000. But banks don't own anything, so all of their money generally comes from overdraft fees and interest payments. So if there's a bank where, especially in like a small town, that is a black bank, but a lot of people are not putting money into it, it's very hard for it to remain open. And they may make, if you got a small amount of money, you make a couple bad decisions with loaning somebody money for a house or for a business and they don't pay it back, that can kind of bankrupt, just like right now with the car market. So it's very hard to get car insurance in New York State right now because of, the Kia Boys stuff, things of that nature. The biggest thing is there used to be for New York, small mom and pop car insurance companies. You make your payment, they may play out a claim once a day, a couple times a day. You get hit where you've never seen this kind of theft before and you got claims 20, 30, 40, 50 a day. You can't stay open because what people are paying in a month isn't enough to sustain what you got to pay out.
And the employees and still run the infrastructure.
And still be able to run it. So there's literally been businesses who had to close down because of car theft. And if you think about it, it hasn't been a long period of time, but it's made a major impact. And unfortunately, we're the ones who are going to suffer for it because we got to pay more in car insurance. It's less car insurance available that you can get. Like right now, if you get a new car, you pretty much only go to Progressive unless you already got insurance with somebody else.
Pretty much Progressive.
You got to go with Progressive.
So do you think COVID killed small business or helped small business? Because that's like around the same time Kid Boy stuff started happening. Like,
do I think COVID killed?
Because I've seen a lot of businesses start during COVID, but I know a lot of them.
That's PPP loans, right?
Yeah. So I do think part of it was people mishandling funds because of PPP.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think a lot of businesses were started because there was this extra inflation of money going around. But what COVID, I think, did to the workforce is made people realize, because of unemployment, because of being able to work from home, that it may not paying rent. It may not be worth it to go to a job for $15. So now, if you are a small business and all you can afford is to pay somebody $15 to be a busboy, and they was getting $400 a week at doing nothing,
going to work. Yeah.
They not going to work, or they're just not interested in doing that job anymore. And that's why it's so funny that they have this huge thing with immigration right now, because they're doing jobs
They
that we don't.
Cheap labor.
They doing jobs that they gonna do. Like let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of jobs like farm work. Farm work is very, very difficult. Like I had ran a class, I guess you could say, or a program with Pathstone, and they help farm workers. That is real life labor. That's probably like top worst jobs that you could have.
Nah, cause they picking it. They gotta. That's a lot.
They take on a lot of
weather conditions.
They got to be off of work for a period of time, but they not getting unemployment, so they really got a budget because they can't work during the winter months, and they get exposed to a lot of very harmful chemicals. Most Americans don't want to be farm workers.
If they getting exposed to them chemicals, ain't we the ones ingesting it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because generally, like within a certain period of time, it's not harmful anymore. Okay. So most pesticides and stuff is put out while food is being like cultivated and put into the ground, and we eating it after it's already been picked.
So the fruit like ain't actually harvest. It's not really ripe yet when they putting all that.
They putting stuff down like as they're
still growing,
yeah. So by the time it gets to us, it's usually a little healthier. Is it still healthy? Probably not. Should we be eating beef? Most likely not. Should we be eating pork? Probably not. Most pork farms are owned by 3 Chinese companies, and the pigs are not treated well, and they are not allowed to free roam. Very similar. The healthiest thing to probably eat is chicken.
Sound like black pig to me.
Yeah, that's probably the healthiest like meat that we can eat. Everything else is very,
unless you're catching it yourself,
questionable. Yeah,
unless you hunting or fishing yourself. I
don't know. Fish very questionable too, because a lot of our waters tampered with.
The Genesee River. I know the Genesee River.
Genesee River.
Salmon go up there.
Yeah, a lot of people fish locally though, but you got to think about it. We are Kodak and Xerox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
They still finding chemicals on the ground.
Yeah.
I think they found somebody at school on West Ridge Road.
My dad's an engineer, and there's a lot of things that were not done properly.
So speaking of engineering,
Mhm.
what do you think about AI? I feel like AI is a useful tool. I had AI halfway help me write a book, but it's like either you're gonna have to adapt to it or get. I feel like you either gotta adapt to AI or you have to get some like manual skills like plumber, electrician, carpenter, cars, like either that or integrate with the technology.
I do think that there's things that AI won't be able to do, but I do think there's a lot of things that it will. As far as what I think about AI, I think it could be a very useful tool. I just told somebody the other day, he was like, "Oh, I don't know, I never know to get when I go to the grocery store." I'm like, "It's 2025. Just say I'm going to Wegmans and I want these 3 meals, and it'll tell you exactly what to buy." Like it's
your refrigerator. They have smart refrigerators that literally will tell you
you need X, Y, and Z. So I think it can be very useful. I had to draft up a business letter from you the other day that I'm gonna email out to local businesses. Could I have typed it myself? Yes. Could it have done it for me?
Do they write grants too?
Yeah, okay. So like when it comes to
I need
writing things for you, now the more details you put in, the better. But when it comes to writing things for you or proofreading things, stuff like that, I feel like AI could be very useful. Do I think AI could be very dangerous? Absolutely.
Of course.
If used by the wrong person or in the wrong, like people could steal your voice, take something from this clip and call one of my kids and be like, "Oh, go walk down the street." You know what I mean? Like, so I do think it could be dangerous if used inappropriately. Do I think most people have the knowledge to use it inappropriately? No.
I mean, that's real.
But, you know, I think it's going to make school, we're going to have people that cheated through college to get degrees with AI, I think.
Yeah, because it's like with the, if the technology is that smart, how smart are the people really? Because remember, when we was in school, they say, "Yo, you can't have a calculator. You're not gonna be able to walk around with a calculator." And
yeah,
here we are.
I was like,
here we are.
6 divided to 72. They all really was like thinking about it. I was like, I forgot y'all. Like, don't use that. Y'all don't have the multiplication table that I had to memorize in high school. So it's different times.
I had a quick question before we get up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give someone that owns a house outright? No mortgage, just straight up own the house.
To do what? Like equity or selling or?
I don't know. Maybe renting it out and buying another one.
So I would say I will put equity for the down payment because what you're going to have to pay on the equity is probably going to be very minimal. And whatever you're going to collect in rent is going to be significantly more than what you got to pay on that house. Use that as a down payment for your next house and then make extra payments on that equity payment. And then get a home equity line of credit, which is revolving credit that you can use for whatever, whenever. And then if anything comes up between either houses, you got the money to take care of it.
Okay. Appreciate that.
And also, I think is it a 1031 exchange when you sell your house and you put that money into the down payment onto another house and they don't tax you on it. I think that's a
1031 exchange.
1031 exchange. So it's a lot of.
But if you keep the house, you can't do the 1031 exchange. So if you're gonna rent it out, he would still have both.
Yeah, you have to sell it. Yeah, you have to sell it.
But if you pull equity, you don't have to pay taxes necessarily because you're paying it back as a loan.
Okay.
That's how the rich stay rich.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if the house is worth $80,000, let's say the bank give you a check for 55, 60. You taking that and then you pouring that into another, and you're only paying the mortgage on the first house or on the equity basically.
Yeah, you're making a payment on equity, and usually the payments is like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you rent a house out is a whole house,
mm-hmm.
you rent it out for $1,800, your payment may be $400. Like, you still walking away with profit.
Mm-hmm.
I would pay it off faster.
And another house.
Yeah, and another house. So if I owned a house outright and I was gonna buy another house, that's how I would do it.
Okay.
But definitely get a home equity line of credit, and definitely make sure your credit is over like a 700. So by doing both back to back, it's not really gonna hurt you because you're gonna be taking out a loan and then buying a house, which is another loan. But if your score is like a 650, you may not qualify for both.
But when they kind of like the bank will kind of like, because when you're borrowing against like a cash generating asset, it's different versus you just taking a loan out on your.
But if you got bad credit or if you got like low credit,
It's quiet for that.
yeah, probably they gonna be like, pick one. But if your credit is good, you'll be able to leverage both.
Okay.
Or if it's a lot of equity, you probably get away with it. It really depends on how much the house worth.
So one more time, what services do you offer exactly, and how can we get in contact with you?
So I do life insurance, auto and home insurance, home security, wills and living trust.
We didn't get to that, but that's an interesting one as well.
Investments, anything from self-employed investments, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, dream funds, emergency funds, and then anything with like financial planning and budgeting. And I do some credit. I'm trying to get away from credit, but I can't.
We trying to walk, cause that's the first step. It's not the first step, but it's one of the first steps that we
It's kind
do.
of hard for me to like save money, but you got all this debt you need to pay, so it'd be like,
Yeah,
I gotta give you both.
We're gonna need a part 2, bro.
definitely gonna need a part 2. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming to see us, and thank you for the advice.